Hello and welcome everyone to the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. Tonight we have a wonderful guest, and her name is Kathy McKinnon. And before we start talking to her, let's jump into this.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts
now, and we're back. Welcome everyone who is popping up here live this evening. We are so happy that you are here. So we're going to get started here with talking with Kathy McKinnon. She is an author. She's also a runner. She is a mom, and we have so many things to talk about tonight. Some of you have seen the great post that we were talking about on Monday, and really this comes from her book. She has been she's an author with many other authors of this book, Silent Grief, Healing, and Hope. So welcome to the show, Kathy.
Thank you so much for having me and allowing me to share my story.
You bet. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, goodness, where do we begin? My world changed so much in the last, let's call it 10 years. But my journey to where I am today, it all transpired with a cancer diagnosis that led me down a journey of infertility, which eventually led me into single motherhood, which led me to this path I'm on today, where I truly believe this is where I was meant to be, inspiring, helping, and guiding others on their journeys.
All right. Sorry, a lot to sign right there. Your host didn't leave. Just a lot to finish through on that. So it is quite a journey when we find ourselves in. And I think the service and the inspiration to help other people really comes out of places of challenge, of pain, and of heartache. And so, as you can see running underneath the ticker there, we have also popped up here is this idea of silent grief, healing, and hope. So this book brought many authors together. And so share a little bit about your story or your chapter that is within this book that talks about part of that journey.
Absolutely. So part of my whole reasoning behind actually contributing to this book was going through my journey. I was not aware until I was in the midst of my journey that so many women go through this alone, or they go through this silent, or it is just this unspoken heaviness that women carry, and they don't process the grief and they don't feel like there is hope. And after years of being silent on my story, I felt like if sharing my story helps one woman to feel not alone, to feel like she didn't have to go through it like I did, isolated, not telling anybody, sort of keeping the secret, then it was worth sharing my story. And I know the other women who contributed to this book, they have similar stories, but of course, every story is unique. But they all felt isolated. They all felt hopeless at some point in their story. And that is the point of us all coming together, is saying, we as women, we don't have to be ashamed. We don't have to hide this. And there is hope. There's hope in many different avenues, even if sort of the original avenue or path you thought didn't come true, didn't come to fruition, that there is hope and things are possible.
The possibilities with that hope really bring something forward. And for yourself, share a little bit about this infertility and what happened following the cancer. Very interesting part.
Yeah, it was definitely nothing anyone could have predicted, and definitely not what I thought when I was going on my journey to become a mother. I was obviously very young and sort of naive and thought, I'm just going to have a baby and it's just going to work that way. And it did not. After 3 miscarriages, I was sent to specialists, and a random fluke in that workup at a specialist was where they found my cancer.
And now, where did they find the cancer?
I had thyroid cancer, and I had no symptoms. I didn't feel the tumor myself. It was, when a doctor was doing a sort of workup, when they pat your neck and the doctor felt, oh, you have a tumor in your neck. And it was like, what are you talking about? And at that point, I was so frustrated with doctors and procedures and tests that I was almost in disbelief. I almost just did not go see the endocrinologist to get it biopsied because I just didn't want one more procedure. Thankfully, I did, because when they found it, it was still at stage 1. So it was very early, thankfully, when they found it. So that was the good news. The frustrating news at the time was, based on the radiation and the treatments that I was having, I would have to delay motherhood because I had to make sure everything was out of my body for a healthy pregnancy. And that meant putting a pause on my journey to become a mother for another year. And that was just so frustrating to me at the time. And then after my year was up, I had to start back up with infertility treatments because my body was just not taking to pregnancy like it should have. And very likely from all the cancer treatments and things that was a possibility. So finally, after my cancer and after my treatments, I had another miscarriage. And then I was blessed to become pregnant with my son now. So, but it was 5 years of trying to have a baby, 4 miscarriages before him. And then I had another miscarriage after him. And so it was just a lot of grief that I did not process at the time, because in my head, I was just on this mission. I was on this mission. I was going to get what I wanted to, and that was my baby. I was going to become a mom. I knew I was destined to become a mom, but I never in that process paused and said, I really need to take the time to heal, and I need to take the time to grieve so that I can show up for my son in a healthier version of me.
It is really, really powerful to think about the time to grieve. That grieving, it is a whole process, right? And there's no start here, end there.
Yeah.
If only it was that easy. It's not, right? And we hear that, and we guess that we know it. We know no one gets out of this world without a death. And yet, in our youth, with babies with miscarriages, there's just like an urgency or a difference, or I can't believe it's happening now, or to me, and that's someone else. And as these things pile on, I love what you said, the time that it takes to grieve it is so important. We can grieve anything. And I think that really opens up your life to know that where you had a hope, or where you had a desire, where you had something going, and those dreams, ideas, hopes, desires get changed or damaged or even pass on, it is impactful. And so to work through it always looks different. And the variety for each of us is very personal.
Yes.
However, it still needs to go through. So I can see behind you like some little clankety clank medals over there. So really, really amazing. So share with us maybe part of what that is in this journey.
Yeah. So a big piece of those medals came from my cancer diagnosis. After that diagnosis, I swore that I would do everything that I could to be the healthiest version of me, so that when I was blessed with a baby, that I would be able to show up, that I would be able to do all the things, that I would be able to parent in the active lifestyle that I envisioned. And the only way that I could do that was to make sure that I was healthy. And so, but prior to my cancer diagnosis, I was not very much into athletics. I actually remember saying, I don't do running. I don't do it. But then I was like, I need to find something fun and engaging to really drive my passion for health so that I can integrate it into this lifestyle that I want, not just for me, that I want my future child to see and live. I don't want them to see or think like, oh, mom is sick, she can't get off the couch. Mom is sick, she can't play with me. That isn't what I wanted my child to remember me as. And so I went on this mission and I started running. And at first I hated it. And then I found this community and this team. And we traveled around and we did races together, and they became like my second family. And they always made sure that I was okay. If I needed anything for before or after the race, they were very supportive of, my health and my restrictions. And they just made me feel so comfortable that running became a part of my life. And then it was always trying for the next challenge and challenging myself and really feeling like I still had control over my health and my life. And it was sort of this way of, taking my life back and the reins of it back and saying this cancer diagnosis and everything that I've been through is not going to define me, and it's not going to hold me back.
That not holding back and jumping in. And I think a key part was finding the community. I think we get inspired individually, and as individuals, we will excel as long as we are connected with communities that give that support. And that's a secret. That's why we're born into families. They become our own communities. That's why we have communities within our neighborhoods, within our cities, within work, within, church. The gospel, the understanding, the communities, it is grouping people together. We are not meant to be by ourselves. The inspiration that's going to touch your heart is very individual, but the communities to support that is very much it is a team sport. No matter whatever it is that you take on as writers, as podcasters, as mothers, as teachers, as parents, as whomever, there is an idea of a community. And when you find the support there really, the opportunity to become successful is there, which is dangling on your wall. It's right there. I love the concept that you have of becoming healthy for not only yourself, but to really better somebody else's life. And in this case, your son.
Yes.
So as your son is now a big part of your life, what teachings do you give to him?
The biggest thing that I've taught him, and I was actually just reflecting on this today, because actually today is my cancer anniversary. It is 15 years today. I didn't even think about that when we scheduled this, but I paused to reflect on that this morning. The biggest thing for me is teaching him that, ambition and adventure and pushing ourselves and our limits to explore life. That's been a huge part of our worlds. And we have been doing all sorts of things since I became a single mom. And I've had people say that, like, how do you do all this as a single mom? And to me, the answer is simple. This isn't about me. This is about my son. This is about showing him that we can do hard things. We can do new things. We can try new things. We can go new places. This is about not living in a terrified little bubble of, tomorrow I might get sick again. It is, let's go live all out. Let's explore. Let's laugh. Let's try new things and see where that path takes us. And even something as simple as writing a chapter in this book, not only was it incredibly therapeutic for me, like it was like taking the elephant off my shoulders of carrying this story around, but my son got to witness it. So my son has seen me do interviews. My son has seen me, sign books, and he took that as inspiration. And he now is an author himself. And so just by living and being around that, he has turned it into something so powerful at such a young age. So that is what I want to give him. This example that by seeing that mom's doing the hard things, the scary things, the terrifying things too. And so it's okay. And so we teach through experience.
We do. In the teaching through experience, it also allows these amazing women who you inspire and teach to really find healing, to go through that grief, and to find hope again. And so, Kathy, in all of this journey for not only yourself, can you share a story that maybe someone that has been part of your life through this journey, who they have shared and come back and said, Kathy, I'm now doing this. I'm now doing X or whatever. Can you share something like that with us tonight?
Yeah. So just off the top of my head here, I can think of one woman that I was coaching. And when I started coaching her, she was sort of very defeated with life. She wasn't sure where she was going or what she was going to do. She wasn't feeling very good about herself. And she had been watching me for a while on social media before she sort of, decided to take the plunge and start coaching with me. And I coached with her for probably almost a year. And now I see her showing up on social media differently. This woman has now a confidence about her body. This woman has a confidence about herself. This woman actually now has twins herself. She not only conceived a pregnancy during that time, but then now has twins herself. So she is a mother. And so it gave her hope that, she could do these things, that it is possible, because she's been seeing me do these things as a single mom. And no, I don't have twins, which is a whole nother challenge, but it gave her hope that, we can piece these things together, and it's one day at a time, one step at a time to go through these things. But the way that she shows up now, even if I just watch her social media, even if I'm not, trading messages with her social media is different in that it's more positive. There's laughter, there's joy, there's her little twins giggling and her responding. Like, it's such a different light that she carries. And I say that to all my coaching clients. Like, when you start to show up differently, people will notice, and they won't necessarily notice what is different, but they'll be able to say, like, something is different and I can't figure out what. And that's when you know that you're starting to show up completely different. And it doesn't matter about the number on the scale or a pant size or any of that. It matters how you're showing up for your people.
Yes. In that showing up, you bring your best self forward, even on days that are hard. And you can show your vulnerability on those days too. And yet we can't be in a pitiful spiral all the time when you're searching for hope and joy. It's really, really challenging. We all have a bad day. Got it. Sometimes bad weeks. Get it. But really, when you are searching actively for hope and joy, there's a place that it brings you, even through your grief. And I think if you have a hope in something beyond and a hope in how the legacy is, and if we don't implode within our own inner self, poor me, all of that, there really is a way out that you can find. And again, it comes with a community. It comes with something beyond yourself. And when we are striving to reach for that, I think about the strength that's going to happen within the moment. And then that is a preparation for the future, because we don't know what's going to happen. And with that preparation, there's so much more that we can really accomplish. So, Kathy, where do you want to go? Where do you want to see yourself in a year from now? Share some of your goals.
Yeah. I mean, a year from now, it could be so different, right? But goal wise, I'm continuing to build my business, my offerings, the different things that we are working on. I'm helping my son publish his second book. So we're working on that as well. So much of my world has, been about really helping him build his business, which is important. But also continuing to just share the stories of hope, right? Because we've all been through so many things in our lives. And to your point, they all compound, right? And they give us the strength to go to the next level. It sort of gives us the strength to say, you know what, I've been through this before. This won't be so bad because I've seen this story before. Doesn't mean we're going to enjoy it. It doesn't mean that it's fun. It doesn't mean that it's joyful. But we sort of build this ability to go through tough things, and it sort of levels up our world on what we can handle and what we can go through. And it's so bizarre because you don't see it or realize it in the moment when you're going through the tough times. Nobody likes the tough times. They're not fun. They're not happy. But looking back now, I can honestly say that my cancer diagnosis was a blessing. And people look at me bizarrely when I say that, like, who puts cancer and a blessing in the same sentence? But when you think about it, they not only found my cancer diagnosis early, but that was a trigger for me to get myself healthy so that I could be the mom that I am today. Without that slap in the face, I would probably not be in the same place physically, mentally that I am today to show up for my son. So it was a tough way to learn. Definitely don't recommend it. Don't wish that path on anyone. But looking back now, that was the blessing. And it was enabled me to get so healthy that I was able to have my son and bring him into the world.
It is an amazing blessing from really a source that is beyond ourselves to know that it's like there's someone smiling at the potential that we have. And it is a potential that when it is started to be discovered and we step into it, even with how afraid we can be, there's something more that, like, it starts to become lighter. So I talk about this often, where we have so many things with A Pinpoint of Light, which is my first book, and then this Beacon of Light podcast, because as that pinpoint is just like a star, billions of miles away, yet we can still see it. We can even guide ships, right, with that. And yet I can't read light by the stars. I can't get any starshine on me. But as I draw closer into this, and as we do within light, the beam brightens. And so if I think always about lighthouses, right? Far away, it is like that star. It is such just the smallest hint. But if I stay upon the course, and as I grow into the beam, it's not that the beam became bigger. I just became closer to the source of light. And within that source of light, now I can see more of my way. I can see the dangers along the way. The storm still might be around me and surrounding me, but I have a way now and I have a path. And we have a choice to turn back and not look at that light, not look at that star, not follow that. Yeah, everyone has their choices. And no matter the choice, when we return and decide, you know what, maybe following that pinpoint was a little bit better than where I was going, we're going to go with that. Really, the hope in so many things in your life can happen, whether it is that you faced cancer, whether you faced a grief of loss, whether you have a loss of a job or a hope for a child, maybe for a terrible accident happened and now you are in a physical state that completely alters everything that you had done prior to. It covers all. Hope, light, and this ability to go through the grief gives you the experience to build upon for your next steps forward. Kathy, this has been really, really insightful. And I was wondering if, like, what it is you would like to share with us this evening, kind of as we're starting to wrap things up. And again, we can get her book, Silent Grief, Healing, and Hope. It is on Amazon and also available where Kathy can share with you all of that great information. And so as we start to wrap things up, Kathy, what is it that you want to really leave our audience tonight with?
I think the one thing that I would say to the audience and to any women out there going through an infertility journey or the desire to be a mother is, I see you, I hear you, and you are most definitely not alone. And today more than ever, I wish I knew these things when, 13, 14, 15 years ago when I was going through this, but more than now than ever, you are not alone. There are women out there who will share their stories with you. There are support groups, there are resources, and, it can be a bit intimidating to just talk to a stranger about your story, such a personal story. But you're never alone. You're never alone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Within a community, really healing can happen on such an individual basis. So really keep that in mind. You're not meant to be alone. You're meant to be inspired individually, but not to carry or go through it by yourself. So many are with you in the sisterhood and beyond. So thank you so much, Kathy. And I hope that this has helped given anyone out there a source of hope and light. And thank you again. Again, her book, as she has a chapter within it called Silent Grief, Healing, and Hope. And you can find that up on Amazon. And we have running on the ticker underneath a way to contact her, which is her Instagram handle, the Kathy McKinnon. So go there, converse with her, find ways that if you need more support in this journey, I'm sure Kathy is very willing to share whatever she can. Thank you so much, Kathy. And thank you all for being here and popping up here live and sharing your comments with us. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you again. And we hope to see you again next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.